Good morning, everyone. My name is Dr. Prasida P, roll number 24, and today I'll be lecturing on the topic burnout using microteaching technique of explanation and stimulus variation with the aid of PowerPoint presentation. First, we'll look into what the term burnout means. So, the term burnout was coined in 1970 by the American psychologist Herbert Freudenberg, and he used it to describe the consequences of severe stress and high ideals in helping professions. According to him, doctors and nurses are at a high risk of being burned out because they often feel exhausted, listless, and unable to cope up with the situation. So, this is what Herbert Freudenberg has to say. And moving on, burnout often stems from your job. So, according to him, burnout often stems from your job. And anyone who feels overworked and undervalued is at risk of burnout. So, when your work is very demanding one, or when it is a very monotonous one, or when there is an unfavorable working environment, or when you don't receive enough recognition for your work, you may feel burnt out in your workspace. But burnout is not solely caused by stressful work or too many responsibilities. There are other factors that often contribute to burnout, and the other factors that contribute to burnout include your lifestyle and certain personality traits. So, we'll look into these factors first. Uh, if you are a person who works too much without getting enough time for relaxing and socializing, then uh, you are at risk of being burned out. And if you are not getting enough sleep, then again you are a person who is at high risk of being burned out. Again, if there is there is a lack of close supportive relationship within you, if there is lack of close supportive relatives, or if there is a lack of close supportive relationships, then again you may be on the road of being burnt out. Now we have discussed the certain factors that cause burnout, but other than your job and your lifestyles, there are certain personality traits also that may cause burnout in a person. Now we look into those personality traits which may cause burnout in you. For example, if you are a perfectionist, you might be at a risk of being burned out because if you're a perfectionist, you often feel that nothing is ever good enough for you, and this inevitably may cause burnout in you. Again, the other kind of persons who are at risk of being burned out are the pessimistic persons. That is, persons with a pessimistic view of themselves and the world. Some persons are like that, right? They have a very negative view of themselves and the world around them. Again, such persons are at a high risk of being burnt out because they are never happy, and they always see and feel things negatively, and they are often in a stressful environment. They are at high risk of being burned out. Then the other kind of personalities which is at risk of being burned out uh, are persons who always need to be in control. The persons, such kinds of persons who are always reluctant to delegate to others. Such kinds of person again are at risk of being burned out. Then the other type of personality which is at risk of being burned out is the persons, these the high achieving persons. That is, sometimes you find people around you who are always aiming for bigger things in life, and such persons are never happy unless they achieve the top of things. But that never happens. That never always doesn't have that doesn't always happen. And such persons and when they don't get to the top of things, may feel stressed out, and they may be at the risk of being burned out. So now that we have discussed the factors that cause burnout, let's look into the stages of burnout. So, this is very important for you because you have to watch out for these symptoms or these stages, because burnout is not a, a simple thing. So, what are the four stages of burnout? Uh, so, there are four stages of burnout. The first stage is the physical, mental, and emotional exhaustion. The second stage is that of shame and doubt. The third stage is cynicism and carelessness. And the fourth stage is helplessness and crisis. So, I'll explain these four stages in detail. So please listen carefully because this is important for you in your real life. So suppose you are a perfectionist who prides yourself in doing your job very thoroughly, but at some point of time, your perfectionism is gone and you are looking for shortcuts to complete your job. And when you do this, you may feel guilty because you are not a perfectionist anymore. And when you feel guilty, you may feel a brain strain within you. And this will eventually lead to an energy and mental exhaustion. And this is the first stage of being burnt out. And if this stress continues, you will move on to the second stage of burnout. And the second stage is that of shame and doubt. And at this stage, you feel that there is nothing for you to look forward to. Your future seems dark and you feel exhausted and you feel that you are worthless, and you experience a sense of insecurity and a sense of loss. And when this uncertainty and vulnerability increases, you will move on to the next stage of burnout, and that is the third stage. And at the third stage, uh, your sense of insecurity is really high. So what do you do at this stage? You put on, when your sense of secure insecurity is really high, what do? You put on a false face and you try to cover up your insecurities within that false face, and that is, you develop a false attitude. And due to this, you become obnoxious and unpleasant, and people will begin to avoid you. But when you enclose yourself in such a shell, what happens? You are defeating yourself as your stress level further increases, and it may further affect your cardiovascular system. And your cardiovascular complications increases, your blood pressure increases, and even you may be at the risk of premature heart attack. So this is the third stage. And when this when this stage of stress increases, you move on to the fourth stage. And what is the fourth stage? The fourth stage is a stage of failure. It's a stage of helplessness and crisis. And at this stage, the person's outside shell, that is, the persons, they have hidden themselves in a false facade, right, in a false shell. And in the fourth stage, what happens is that this shell starts cracking, and his psychological defenses uh, are no longer working, and their false attitude is no longer working, and you feel disoriented, and you are now overly sensitive. And this is a warning signal for you to get immediate help, because if you don't get help at this stage, then you will have a complete mental breakdown. So the signs and symptoms of burnout are very subtle at first, uh, are very subtle. You cannot even identify those signs at first, but as time goes on, your stress level will, if you don't take care, your stress level will keep on increasing and it will get worse and worse. And then you will have to take immediate medical help. So you have to, every person has to watch out for these signs of burnout. So this is what burnout is all about. Thank you.